Hello and welcome to Pilot Season 2019, and the first show up this year is, as you can tell by the title, Prodigal Son, which aired tonight on Fox. And I was looking forward to this. I was expecting something that would be quite serious and very dark and gritty, and taking itself very seriously, which in places it does, but it's also surprisingly lighthearted and surprisingly funny at times. That's not to say that it's a comedy. It's still a drama. It just has really good comedic elements to it. So the basic premise is Malcolm Bright is the son of a famous serial killer known as the Surgeon, and at the beginning of the episode, he gets fired from the FBI because he basically runs into this hostage situation and almost gets himself killed. So the FBI fires him, and he gets a chance to work with the NYPD, consulting on this case that ends up being like a copycat of his father. And I'm not going to spoil anything else because that's kind of, I think, all hinted at, or maybe even outright said in trailers, so I don't want to spoil anything. So it was a surprisingly good episode. It wasn't what I was expecting. It was a lot funnier and I don't know, it wasn't nearly as I was expecting. A lot of very dark, gritty, almost like kind of like a Seven vibe, and it's definitely not that. It's more fun than that. So for example, for that, I should illustrate that point. There's a scene where him and these two other cops are tracking down somebody, a suspect, and they find this guy who's bound to this chair, and there's a bomb on it, and Malcolm has to cut the guy's hand off in order to save him. And he gets the hand and he puts it in this bucket like a cooler with ice in it, and he runs out, and this other cop stops him, and he's like, "Give me a minute, I have to give them a hand." And I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting a joke like that in the show, but there's a few of those where I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually not what I was expecting, but I'm really enjoying it. There were a few times where I was laughing out loud at the show because it was quite funny, and intentionally so. It's very dark comedy, but it's if you like dark comedy, I think you'll like that. I think the show is a lot of fun. It's a good premise. It's, by its nature, it will be a very episodic show, which in general I don't tend to enjoy a ton of, because I prefer to have episodes matter and kind of be driving towards a larger narrative. But this seems like it has enough fun and enough just things that are, I'm not going to say the show's original, because it's really not. It's taking a lot of tropes that you've seen before, but it's doing them with, there's enough energy and enough, I don't want to say charm, but I'm going to say charm, that makes the show not feel like, oh, it's just another murder we're going to solve. And the characters are fun enough and they're interesting enough, especially Malcolm Bright, the main character. He's really interesting, and he's dealing with PTSD and some other mental issues, and that's really interesting. And I always find characters that are dealing with mental illness a lot, really interesting, and I really want to see more of that, because I find psychology and everything really interesting. So I highly recommend the show. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think there's enough there that even if you're not somebody who's normally a fan of episodic television, like myself, that there's something there. There's enough meat on this thing's bones that it probably, it'll be a good time for the rest of the season. It's definitely not something that I would have to watch on the night it aired. I could definitely see this being something that would get stored for a couple of weeks and then kind of binge on it. But yeah, it's a good time. So yeah, I'm going to definitely recommend this. And there's going to be a new episode coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. All right, bye.